going on at a couple of additional sites because we want to get a little bit of perspective on whether this was just an outlier or is fairly representative of what's happening in other housing. I doubt seriously that it's an extreme outlier. I have a feeling we're going to find a significant number of asymptomatic positive tests there too. So if that's the case, we'll know that in a couple days. We're going to be looking at doing broader testing in housing sites like that. Now, there's some factors that will affect the extent to which we can do that. The main one of which is the availability of testing. Right now, that seems to be opening up, and we may well be able to do what's necessary to test many of the, if not all, of the farm workers coming in in the H-2A program, for example. Within a few days, we'll know whether we're really going to want to pull the trigger, and that's a decision we're going to make with agriculture leaders and representatives of farm workers. The real effect of this experience, though, has been to make us think differently about the advice to make decisions on the basis of symptom screening. Because if there are this many asymptomatic positive cases, screening for symptoms doesn't really tell you, who needs to be tested and who needs to stay home from work and that sort of thing. So that's really the big revelation behind this, and that will have implications for testing, not just for farm workers, but for a lot of the things that we're doing right now. And it highlights the need for much, much greater testing capacity than we have. We have relatively small numbers because we're a relatively small population, and small numbers bounce around a lot more than larger numbers from larger populations. So it's a little harder to look at the curve and say, this is where we are. My take is we're probably about 3 weeks behind the west side in terms of when we started. There's no reason to think we'd be different from every other community in the overall pattern of the epidemic. So I expect us to peak a week or 2 or 3 after Puget Sound. They may be peaking now in Puget Sound area, and so I would think we're probably going to peak soon if we haven't already. But I'm trying to keep reminding people that, when you're on the peak, you're only halfway home. You got to go all the way back down to camp. And sometimes that's the hardest part of the trip because you're tired from the climb.